Hello, this is Coach Wilson, and this is Unit 2, Day 8. Today's notes we're going to be talking about how did the members of the Constitutional Convention decide upon representation. Okay, and in this journal, I would like for you to write 5 to 6 sentences detailing the different plans. Tell me about which group of people were responsible for promoting which plan in regards to big state versus small state, etc. All right, today we're going to be talking about our final day of notes in Unit 2, which is ratifying the Constitution. Now, most of you should have already had this information in civics, so we're not going to spend a ton of time. It should be a very short lecture. Now, in ratifying the Constitution, there were 9 out of 13 states required to approve the new Constitution in order for it to pass. The reason for this was because of the Articles of Confederation. The Articles of Confederation said that there had to be 9 out of 13 states to approve any new legislation. This included Delaware, New Jersey, Georgia, Connecticut, who were the first to adopt, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, Maryland, South Carolina, and New Hampshire, who followed. Now, once those 9 states agreed to ratify the new Constitution as the Constitution that they accept, and they accept it as being part of the federal government, it then became law for all 13 colonies that were governed by the Articles of Confederation, and the Articles of Confederation no longer had any power. On June 21st, 1788, the Constitution is officially adopted, and the other 4 states must adopt because they have no choice. Okay, here's George Washington and our founding fathers, along with the rest of America's history, standing behind them signing the Constitution. Now, our Constitution was little short of a miracle, according to George Washington. And remember, the preamble was the beginning, and you can watch the little Schoolhouse Rock video if you'd like. I love the Schoolhouse Rock video of the preamble. The We the People, in order to form. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to start singing. There were 3 levels of government: federal, state, and local. This makes up our principle of federalism. Okay, remember, it starts at the top, works its way down all the way to the bottom at the local level, such as the city of Newton, to Catawba County, to the state of North Carolina, to the federal government. There are 3 branches of government, which we talked about yesterday as well, and the legislative branch, executive branch, and judicial branch. The legislative branch makes the laws, and then once those laws are passed, the executive branch is going to enforce those laws. And you're going to see that very early on in our country's history that George Washington was forced to enforce laws, which was also some of the issues going back to right at the end of the war with the rebellions and farmers being upset, and we have Daniel Shaves Rebellion, and we have farmers who are upset about taxes because the war's over. So there's a lot of things here that we're kind of taking into account. Now, the judicial branch is going to interpret the laws. They're going to decide whether it is constitutional or unconstitutional. All right. Now we come to one of our biggest one of our key factors for Unit 3, and this is kind of leading into Unit 3 here, but this is also important during this time. We have 2 political parties forming, and George Washington was very much against political parties. He did not agree with them. He did not think they would work. However, Federalists supported the new Constitution, and they were the first political party, and the easiest way to remember them is Federalists support the federal government. Okay, Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, and our first Supreme Court Justice John Jay are going to be the main leaders of the Federalist Party. They're also going to be responsible for writing the Federalist Papers, which were a group of essays just supporting the new Constitution and saying how our government or our people and our country need this document. The second political party was the Anti-Federalist, and the easiest way to remember them is they're anti-government. Okay, and maybe not anti-government is the right word, but they're they're more for the rights of the people. They're anti-really powerful governments. They just didn't want to happen again in America what happened in England with kings and despots. Now, Patrick Henry, Samuel Adams, and Richard Henry Lee were 3 of the main men for the Anti-Federalists, and they wrote papers known as the Anti-Federalist Papers, which were a group of essays arguing for a Bill of Rights and individual rights for the people. That in order to have a new Constitution, we must have some sort of document that guarantees our freedoms. So they come up with this idea of a Bill of Rights to be added to the Constitution in order for them to kind of get on board. And the Federalists promised that they will add a Bill of Rights, which George Washington made that promise, and he was not a Federalist or Anti-Federalist, so really George Washington's the one that guaranteed it would happen. Ratification succeeds and the new government forms in 1789, and we begin the election process for a new president. Now, George Washington is going to ensure that once he is elected, that he pushes the Bill of Rights through, but we'll talk about that in Unit 3. James Madison is going to be responsible for writing the Bill of Rights, and it will guarantee all of the freedoms that we enjoy today. Such as, number 1, the first one, freedom of religion, freedom of assembly, freedom of press, freedom to petition, freedom of speech. If there's ever been a year that you could really see the First Amendment rights being exercised, it would be the year 2020. In no way more so have we seen people very excited about showing their freedom of press, reporting what they want to report, freedom to petition the government, freedom to say what they want to say, the freedom to assemble. With the COVID things, people are very upset about not being able to assemble, that's one of their given rights, to assemble and meet and to decide on how things should be taking place. Now, we'll talk about right to bear arms here in a second. No quartering of soldiers, no illegal searches and seizures, no double jeopardy, self-incrimination, or eminent domain. A speedy public trial, which means they can't leave you rotting in jail forever. Trial by jury, obviously, you can't just be sentenced to death without anyone, actually, a jury of your peers has to decide that you're guilty. Okay? Innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. You've heard that your whole lives. No cruel and unusual punishment or excessive bail or fines, meaning they can't fine you or make bail so ridiculous even though the crime does not fit the punishment. The Constitution is not a limited document, saying that there are things that aren't explicitly written in the Constitution but can still be done. And we're going to have a lot of talk about that between Federalists and Anti-Federalists. And then finally, we have the States' Rights Amendment, which is the 10th Amendment. Now, going back to the right to bear arms, I don't know why anybody has a problem with me having to bear arms. Okay? They're awesome. Like, who wouldn't want to bear? I'm just kidding. I always love this picture. All right. Here are your 4 questions. Okay? Make sure you get all 4 of these answered, and make sure you get your 3 vocabulary words down. If you have any issues, please let me know. If not, I'll talk.